Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well and have had a great Thursday. Tonight we're going to be talking about post-tropical cyclone Francine, and then we'll just do a quick little look on Francine because there's not a lot to talk about really left with Francine, but we'll still talk about Francine and some of the impacts that are still to come from Francine. And then next after that we'll be looking at the tropics and looking at what we may need to be monitoring over the next couple of days and even the next week. And then at the very end of the video, or towards the end of the video, we'll be looking at our severe weather risk today, and that is for places in parts of the north central and northwest United States. But first we'll be looking at our key messages here. And so as you can see, we'll go to, if you want to read the key messages, you can just pause the video and look at that real quick, but we won't be looking at this particular screen. We're going to look at our rainfall potential first, and so here you can see a better view of the rainfall forecast. So this is for post-tropical cyclone Francine from day 1 today on Thursday to day 2 and 3, so that'd be from 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time Thursday through 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time Sunday, September the 15th, 2024. And so just looking right here, so mainly the major areas that will receive quite a bit of rain is especially into parts of north central Alabama. And as you can see, in some places in north central and northern Alabama can receive up to 6 to 8 inches in rain. 6 to 8 inches of rain in some spots. And then the area around that up into Tennessee, extreme northeastern Mississippi, and then into a spot in western Georgia there, it can receive 4 to 6 inches of rain. Outside of that, all the way from parts of Georgia all the way up to the northwest and Illinois, Kentucky, southeast Missouri, and then even into Tennessee, northeast Mississippi, Alabama can receive 2 to 4 inches of rain there. And then around that is a large area of 1 to 2 inch totals, all the way from places in Florida all the way to Illinois there. And then there's another area in the panhandle of Florida that has a 2 to 4 inch range of predicted rainfall from Francine. And then we'll look at the flash flooding potential. So we'll look at our greatest flash flood risk for the next 3 days. And so there is a moderate risk into parts of Alabama and Birmingham. Alabama's pretty much right in the middle of that moderate. So what that means is at least a 40% risk of flash flooding in this area here, and then around that is a yellow risk, and that is a slight risk, and that is at least a 15% risk of flash flooding. And then around that is a larger marginal risk, and this is at least a 5% risk of flash flooding, and that is quite a large risk there. And that's all the way from basically southeast Missouri all the way east into parts of the Carolinas there, and all the way south into parts of northern Florida there. And then that'll be it for this view of post-tropical cyclone Francine. And just in a second we'll look at the other risk and impacts from Francine. So looking at the 0-1Z update from the Storm Prediction Center, and for right now we're just going to be ignoring this other risk up here into parts of Montana as well as North Dakota there, but we'll get to that later in the video. So just don't really pay attention to that now, but we will look at this marginal risk down here, and this is for tonight. So this is the 0-1Z update, as I said, and so we do have a marginal risk here all the way from pretty much, not pretty much, but almost the entire state of Alabama, and then farther east into parts of Georgia, and then into much and almost the entire panhandle of Florida there. And then we do have a small area in extreme northeastern Mississippi there, and a marginal risk. And so this is for a tornado risk, and we'll look at the models in just a second so you can better see that risk with some of the short range models. But again, there's no other risk with that, no hail risk or anything. I mean, there is a little bit of a wind risk, but that's not severe weather related. But now we'll look at tomorrow's risk, and again, don't worry about this area right now. We'll get to that later in the video. So if you are affected by this area, I promise we'll get to that later in the video. But looking at our day 2 outlook, and this is for tomorrow, Friday, September the 13th. And as you can see here, we have a still a pretty large marginal risk here, and this is all the way from parts of Tennessee down to the southeast into parts of Alabama, Georgia, and the panhandle of Florida there. And we do have another tornado risk with this, and there is a 2% risk with this, and that is from parts of Tennessee all the way to the south into parts of Alabama and Georgia there. And then there is a little bit of a wind risk with this, and this is severe weather related here, but there is a 5% wind risk, and this goes all the way south, kind of in the same area as that marginal risk showed, into the panhandle of Florida there, and then as well as into Georgia and Alabama. And there is no hail risk with the day 2 outlook. And then for the day 3, we just have a general thunderstorm risk across most of the parts of the southeast and central U.S. Now looking at some of the weather models, we'll start off with the GFS. And so here's post-tropical cyclone Francine right here, and this is the 18Z GFS. And so this is around right now, and Francine is just a little bit farther north, kind of into Tennessee there. But as you can see, Francine here over the next couple of hours and then into early tomorrow, Francine will rapidly weaken, and by basically midday tomorrow on Friday, it's expected to be a 1,008 millibar storm there in the low, situated in Arkansas. And then continuing, you just have some leftover moisture from Francine, and that will continue to dump some rain onto places into the south and southeast there. And then we'll look at our 850 millibar winds here. And so just looking at tonight first, so this is tonight, and then this will go into Friday. As you can see, there's quite a potent low-level jet with this, even into pretty much Alabama and Georgia. I mean, there's a 50 knot, almost 60 knot low-level jet in some spots, but into parts of central Alabama and northwestern Georgia, there's a 40 to basically a 50 knot low-level jet there. And then the farther south you go, the higher wind speeds decrease there. And then going over the next couple of hours into early tomorrow on Friday, that low-level jet continues, and then continues to kind of head north, or move north, excuse me. And you still have this pretty strong low-level jet into Tennessee, but there won't be a lot of instability into that area. But that tornado risk is still there, and then that low-level jet kind of but weakens out a little bit, and then you kind of have a return of one later in the day tomorrow. But it's not nearly as strong, and then there's late tomorrow night. But by that time, you probably won't have much. Yeah, there's barely any instability there. But the main areas tomorrow would probably be midday tomorrow. As you can see right here, there's still quite a bit of, not quite a bit, but still enough instability for that little bit of a tornado threat. I mean, you still have an upper 20 knot, maybe 30 knot low-level jet in some areas into Tennessee and Alabama, as well as northwestern Georgia there. And now we'll look at the NAM and let's see here. We'll look at the NAM and the HRRR. Not sure why it's all that's analysis, but still looking at the low level jet here. It does show that low level jet a little bit farther south, and so it continues to sort of lift to the north, and it does show it quite a bit stronger. And throughout the night and early morning hours tomorrow, that begins to weaken, and then you kind of have a return of one midday tomorrow. And so if you look here at the instability, there's still the NAM is, I think the NAM's a little overdone, but on the instability, but still there's a pretty potent low level jet there. And then we'll look at switching to radar here. We'll go back all the way to about right now, and so you still have some showers into Arkansas, into Missouri, western Tennessee there, and then you have these more stronger storms to the south, and these are the ones you'll have to watch with that little bit of a tornado risk tonight. And really over the next couple of hours, some of these do look pretty nasty in Alabama there. And then going into early tomorrow on Friday, still have plenty of storms even to southern Alabama you'll have to watch, and then some storms up here into Kentucky and Illinois as well as Indiana. These won't have a tornado risk, but still you'll have to watch. Still might have a little bit of a wind risk with that. And then still looking to the south into Alabama. This will be early tomorrow afternoon, and then still going farther and farther, and then you get to into the late afternoon and evening. These storms kind of begin to strengthen again, and some of these still look pretty strong, and pretty strong in some spots, and some of these do look kind of super cellular, into some spots. But yeah, these will definitely be the ones you'll have to watch even into late tomorrow night into early on Saturday. Here's another little line there that shows up, and then there's a kind of a strong low level jet with that. I'm not sure how the NAM is trying to show that, but it does show kind of a messy storm mode there. But again, we'll just have to watch and see how that plays out tomorrow. But you cannot rule out a quick spin up or a tornado or two tomorrow, and then tonight and tomorrow. And then now we'll look at the HRRR real quick. We'll go to the 0Z run. So still you have all these showers and storms into Kentucky, Tennessee, parts of Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and then again these storms down here into Alabama you'll have to watch. And then even into early tomorrow on Friday, quite a few storms begin to really move into Alabama and Georgia. And looking at the low level jet here, not as strong showing up on the HRRR, but still you do have instability in those areas where that and that low level jet and instability overlap. So definitely something to watch with that. And then real quick, we'll just look at instability, surface-based cape here, and then as you can see, it builds quite a bit into Alabama tomorrow evening. And yeah, that'll be something to definitely watch tomorrow. But again, do not rule out a quick tornado or two tomorrow with those storms that move through the area. So now looking at the 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center, and getting off the topic of Francine. So as you can see here is Francine of the at the latest 10:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time update. And then we have two areas, and one is near the Leeward Islands, and this has a 30% chance of developing in the next 7 days, and then a 30% chance in the next 48 hours. And then we have another area off the Carolina coast and the Georgia coast with a 30% chance of developing into a tropical cyclone within the next 7 days. And then we have Tropical Depression 7 out here into the central Atlantic. And this depression here isn't expected to affect anybody, but we'll look at all these areas in just a second that could develop, possibly develop. But mainly in this video, I'll be talking about this area here and just seeing how it could play out, because this could be a system that stinks up on us. But again, we will talk about this area as well, and we'll just mainly be focusing on this area. So first we'll be looking at our Tropical Depression 7 out here into the central Atlantic. And so again, this depression really isn't this won't affect anybody, and it's just basically expected to kind of go out to sea, and then as you can see late into the forecast period, it just kind of continues to go out and meander in the Atlantic there. And then we'll look at the European too, the 12Z. And so again, European basically shows the same thing, kind of makes that northward turn maybe Wednesday next week or Thursday. But again, this really won't be an area that we'll have to worry about affecting anybody at this time. That could change, but it's there's still high confidence that it won't affect anybody. And then now, so looking at the GFS here, we have our area that area of interest in the Leeward Islands, and then that other area, off of the Carolina coast. So first we'll look at the area down here near the Leeward Islands. And so this area isn't really showing up on the operational GFS, the 18Z run, and there's really nothing that shows up there for quite some time. There is some moisture in the area, but again, there's not really anything that develops in that period. And then we'll look at our 700 to 300 millibar relative humidity values there. And so we'll go right here. And so as you can see, I mean, you do have a little bit of moisture there, and I mean, you have a little bit of a low that develops down here, but then you get some dry air that moves into that area, and that basically limits the chances of that developing. But if this could get going, it would be in an area of slightly more moist than it's in right now. But again, that dry air looks like it'll head towards the Lesser and Greater Antilles and just really limit any development out there. But again, we'll continue to watch that. We'll look at the European as well, 12Z here. Again, it does not really show anything on the European model as well. And we'll go all the way out to here's Tuesday, Wednesday next week, Thursday, still nothing really going on there. And then again, looking at the relative humidity values, same thing showing up there. Some areas of moisture, but that dry air just moves in. Even the European shows it quite a bit drier, so that would basically limit anything from developing there at all. And I mean, yeah, all that dry air, nothing can really get going, anything tropical for that matter. But so getting off of the topic of this area out here, we'll look at our other area that I've been kind of watching as well. So we'll look at the GFS first. Let me go, let's see, actually I'm going to go back to the Western Atlantic look here, and then we'll go here. So this area has been showing up for the past couple of days, and the confidence from the National Hurricane Center has kind of it's kind of been the same. On the models though, it's been going, I would say, back and forth. A few days ago, some of the models showed it quite a bit stronger, and then today and yesterday it's been, or really yesterday it wasn't showing up as strong on some of the models, and today it's showing a little bit stronger compared to yesterday. But so this area off the Carolina coast, we'll have to continue to watch. But looking on the 18Z GFS here, we do have an area here that you can see that low pressure there, and it just goes into North Carolina there, and then kind of moves up into the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. But this has been an area that's just kind of crept up on us, and hasn't really been, it's been talked about a little bit, but hasn't really been mentioned a lot until the last couple of days. But look at the 18Z European here, and so this doesn't really go far out enough. We'll look at the 12Z right here, and so the European still does show a low pressure that would develop there, kind of off the coast of Georgia, and then move into the Carolinas, and then just dump quite a bit of moisture there, and then move on out. But again, this is an area that's really, it's going to start off not having any tropical characteristics, and then as you can see, it's kind of basically some moisture kind of associated with Francine that moves off, and then you just have this leftover moisture that just eventually moves in into the Carolinas there. And so really the big question with this is, will it have enough moisture, and will it be an area that can really start to strengthen, because the sea surface temperatures aren't very warm off the Carolina and Georgia coast, but they are plenty warm enough for tropical development. And so that's really will be one of the major questions with this area of potential development. And then you do have a little bit of shear showing up here. This is Monday, and then going on to Tuesday, you have quite a bit more shear there. I don't think the GFS shows that as much, but it still has some of the shear in the upper levels. So that will be another limiting factor for development. But again, this is just something we'll have to continue to watch, and we'll look at the icon real quick. We'll go to the 12Z, and so the icon doesn't really show it. It does show an area of moisture that moves into North Carolina and Virginia there, but again, it doesn't really show it there. If we can we'll go to the NAM just to see what it looks like. Actually, it doesn't even go far enough out, but it does have a little bit of a low down here, kind of east of, quite a bit farther east of Florida. But this low will start off non-tropical, and then we'll gain some of those tropical characteristics, and where it will go is something we'll definitely have to figure out over the next couple of days. And I would say by later this weekend, we'll have a better idea of how this might play out from the models. But again, it'll definitely be something we'll have to continue to monitor. Now lastly, looking at our severe weather risk into parts of Montana and North Dakota, as well as South Dakota, and then even farther into Wyoming here. We do have a enhanced risk here into parts of far eastern Montana, and then into western North Dakota. Around that is a slight risk into parts of eastern Montana, northwestern South Dakota, and western North Dakota. And then we have a marginal risk around that all the way from North Dakota, South Dakota, and then into Wyoming, as well as Montana there. And then looking at our tornado risk, we do have a 2% tornado risk with this into parts of western North Dakota and eastern Montana there. And then we actually do have quite a potent wind risk with this, and there's a 30% wind risk with this, and a hatch risk around that 30%, and then a 15% around that, and that hatch risk goes into that 15% risk too. Not the entire 15%, but quite a bit of it. But it does surround the entire 30% risk, and then around that is a 5% risk. And so what a hatch risk means is a probability, 10% or greater probability of wind gusts, as you can see down here, 65 knots or greater within 25 miles of this hatch risk here. And then yeah, we do have that that wind risk. That'll be one of the main factors towards that severe weather risk for today, or tonight, excuse me. And then we do have a 15% risk for hail and a 5% around that, and that 15% risk is into eastern Montana, western North Dakota, and northwestern South Dakota, and around that is that 5%, around that 15% area, and then into eastern Montana, northeastern Wyoming, and then into western South Dakota and western North Dakota. So first looking at the 0ZHRRR model, and then we'll look at some other short range models in just a second. But as you can see, we do have those storms there, especially quite a few storms into South Dakota and North Dakota over the next couple of hours. Those will continue to move east, and those will definitely have that wind risk with those, and then eventually they'll continue to kind of move out, and you might have some more storms that get going tomorrow on Friday, and those might start to get going early tomorrow morning and continue east throughout the day. And then you still have some storms that continue to go east, and then still by late tomorrow night you have storms all the way into parts of Minnesota there, and then throughout South Dakota, even into maybe into places in Nebraska there, as well as North Dakota and South Dakota. But the main risk with that tonight would be that wind risk, and this will be the main area for that wind risk, and then that'll basically move out and weaken by late tonight and early tomorrow on Friday. And then looking at our dew points here, you don't have that area really right now of moist area, but over the next couple of hours that area will continue to get that moisture will continue to get pushed farther north, and you have this area of lower to mid 60s dew points there. That'll be plenty moist enough for those storms in those areas, and then that moisture kind of shifts to the east tomorrow, and then later in the day you can see that area continuing to the east of mid to lower 60s dew points there. And then looking at our low level jet with this setup, so you do have quite a potent low level jet. We have a mid to lower 50 knot low level jet here into North Dakota. South Dakota is a lower 50 knot low level jet in some areas, and then that'll continue throughout the night, and then even into tomorrow you'll have another area that continues, but that low level jet will basically lift to the north, and you won't have that same area with that stronger low level jet, but you will have a little bit of one tomorrow night. And then looking at instability here, we'll look at mixed layer CAPE. So you have a little bit of CAPE here into North Dakota and South Dakota, mainly into places in southwest South Dakota there, and then that will basically wane off throughout the next couple of hours, and then you might have a little bit more instability that builds tomorrow with those other storms that continue in the morning. And then just a couple hundred joules per kilogram of CAPE, and we'll click on a sounding here and just look at it real quick. But not a very strong or potent sounding, but you still have a little bit of instability there. And then you can see that photographed, a little bit of a curved photograph there. But again, not a lot of instability. And then you have more that builds later tomorrow. I mean, you do have a couple hundred to maybe even 1500 joules per kilogram in some spots, but not a lot there. We'll look at the NAM real quick as well, and the NAM does show a little bit more instability tomorrow on Friday, but tonight it does not show a whole lot, just mainly into parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. And then just looking at the composite reflectivity on the NAM, you can still have those storms that move east, and again you'll have that wind risk with that, and then that little bit of a hail risk, and that will continue east. And then by tomorrow, Friday, you'll have more storms that re-intensify into North Dakota and South Dakota, and those will continue east into Minnesota eventually, and then you'll just have some leftover showers into Minnesota late tomorrow evening into tomorrow night, and then eventually into early on Saturday there. That's going to be it for tonight's update. I do appreciate all of y'all watching. I may try to make, well, I'm definitely going to try to make a video this coming weekend and just give another one of these updates like this one, and I'm going to try to be a little bit more in depth. But I do apologize for this video being kind of sped up in some spots. I feel like I didn't cover as well as I usually do, but I do have to kind of get this video out a little more quickly than usual, so that's one reason why. But this weekend I will have a lot more time to do a more in-depth video, and again I do apologize for that. But again, yeah, I am trying my best to improve with each video I do, and I know I've been trying to improve lately, but this video wasn't much of an improvement. But again, I do appreciate all of y'all watching, and if y'all are new to the channel, I do really appreciate y'all watching. But if you want to see more videos like this one, forecast and updates like this one, I would just consider subscribing or liking the video if you do want to see more. It would really help me out. Just getting a larger audience on the channel. But I am trying to grow the channel as much as I can, and I'm really trying to focus on long form videos rather than shorts. And most of my growth with my channel has been through shorts, but I'm trying to grow on long form content instead of shorts, so I can kind of reach that target audience besides the short audience instead, if that makes sense. But yeah, my main focus is for long form content, because that's what my channel is based around. But again, I mean, any growth is good growth. But again, that'll be it for tonight's update, and I do hope y'all have had a great Thursday or are having a great Friday. But again, I will try to do another video soon, and that'll be it for tonight's update.